All right, so section 12.2 is law of sines. You're going to see the law of sines is different than regular sine. Okay, they're not the same thing. This is a little more involved. So the law of sines is made up of three ratios. The sine of angle A over side A equals the sine of angle B over side B equals the sine of angle C over side C. And as you can see, it explains lowercase letters are sides, capital letters are angles. You have to remember that. And the law of sines is different than regular sine in its application because the law of sines can be used for any type of triangle, whereas sine can only be used for right triangles. Now, when we use the law of sines to solve for either a side length or an angle measure, we're only going to choose two of the three ratios, depending on what we know and what we're being asked to find. So here it's sine A over A, sine B over B, sine C over C. There are three different ratios there, but we're only going to choose two of them. You'll see when we do the example here. So when we choose two of the ratios, we end up with a proportion. And we can solve a proportion by cross multiplying. So let's take a look at an example. It says, find the missing side or angle, round all answers to the nearest centimeter or degree. Show all work on a separate sheet of paper. Okay, so we'll just do it on the smartboard here, of course. And we're looking for W right there, which is the measure of side CB. So we need to use the law of sines. So I'm going to write it out here. Sine of angle A over side A equals the sine of angle B over side B equals the sine of angle C over side C. And I'm writing it all out just to show you how we're only going to use two of the three ratios. So when I look at the triangle there, I can clearly see that I know the measure of angle B, and I know the measure of side B. Remember that the side corresponds to the opposite angle. So I know both parts of this ratio right here. So I'm going to fill those in. I have the sine of angle B, which is 52 degrees, and I know side B has a measure of 28. Now I go back to my triangle, and I can see I know angle A, and I'm being asked to find side A. So what that means is this is the ratio that I'm not going to use, and I'm going to plug in to the other ratio that I know, sine of angle A, which is 79 degrees, over the length of side A, which is what I'm trying to find, and those two ratios equal each other, giving me my proportion that I can solve. Okay, so now we're ready to solve our proportion. So I'm going to cross multiply. So I have W times the sine of 52 degrees. And that's going to equal 28 times the sine of 79 degrees. Now I want to get W by itself, so I need to divide both sides by the sine of 52 degrees. The sine of 52 degrees over there is going to cancel out. That's going to leave me W by itself. Then this whole fraction over here on the left, I can plug all of that into my calculator and find out my answer. So I have 28 sine of 79 degrees divided by the sine of 52 degrees equals 34.8. They asked me to round it to the nearest centimeter, so I'm going to go 35 centimeters here. All right, next example. So here we're being asked to find angle A. So based on what I'm given and what I'm asked to find, I can see here I know angle C and I know side C. So that's going to be the ratio that has both things. So I'm going to start sine of 42 degrees over 29. I'm being asked to find angle A, and I know side A. That's good. So this is going to equal the sine of angle A over side A, which is 36. So again, I set up a proportion that has just one unknown. The ratio that I've left out is the sine of angle B over side B. Now I'm ready to cross multiply and solve. I want to get the sine of angle A by itself. So in this case, I actually only have to do half of the cross multiplication, because once I multiply 36 times the sine of 42, it's already being divided by 29, and my sine of angle A is already by itself. So don't do the second part of the cross multiplication in this case, because then you'll just have to undo it. Now I have the sine of angle A equals this whole fraction. Well, think back. When we're solving for an angle, we have to use the inverse, right? So essentially what we have to do right now is take the inverse sine of both sides. We know that the inverse sine undoes the sine, and that's what gets me my angle A all by itself. And now everything on the left side I can plug right into the calculator. So I need to do the inverse sine or second sine, and you have to be careful here because you want to make sure that you set everything up correctly, which in this case there actually aren't going to be any parentheses, extra parentheses needed, but you always got to be careful. 36 times the sine of 42 degrees, and then divide by 29 and close off my parentheses there. So I get 56.1, and they asked me to round to the nearest degree, so angle A is going to be 56 degrees.